Nothing will grow your business faster or nothing will drive your business into the ground faster if you make lots of people aware of your business and then deliver a mediocre or crappy experience.
Welcome to the Getting the Deal Done podcast. This is John Martinka. My special guest today is Dave Burnett. Dave is with AOK Marketing, is a Bloom growth coach, and a lot of other things. So welcome, Dave.
Thanks so much for having me on, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Why don't we start by telling us how you got to where you are in this, helping businesses and owning businesses and all of that.
Yeah, it's a story that goes back to my third year university, believe it or not, and to completely date myself, we're talking the late 90s. And so I was working for somebody else, and they were doing a mediocre job in my wisdom of being a 20-year-old. So I thought, you know what, I can do this better. So I went out, and what we were doing at the time was point of purchase sampling. So with people you see in Costco, that kind of thing. That's what we were doing. Except here, I'm based out of Toronto. We can actually do that in liquor store and beer stores with wine and beer. So I was doing that for people, decided, you know what, I can do this better. I went out and got Bacardi and Labatt's as clients and started doing that myself. So I had 50 employees working for me back in university, and then sold that business to my partner at the time and got into promotional products. So t-shirts, hats, pens, all that kind of good stuff. And so with the promotional products business, I started that, grew it, and what happened was a Great Recession. 2007, 2008, and my business went to zero. In fact, it went to below zero because I was losing $70,000 a month. So when I was losing $70,000 a month, that's not real sustainable. And as a result, I decided I had to start marketing in different ways, start promoting in different ways. So I got, wanted to get good at digital marketing. So I went out and bought 3,000 URLs. I put up 500 websites and got good at SEO. And that took me through the 2010s. Then I became a OpenAI beta tester, 2017, 2018. Then, of course, we had COVID. And then digital marketing kind of went up, down, sideways. And now we've got AI. So that's that's kind of the shortest version possible to how I got to where I am today.
Okay. So let's talk about AOK Marketing, the digital side.
Yeah, I mean, digital marketing's been great for the last, 15 years or so. And then come November of 2022, OpenAI releases ChatGPT. And so with ChatGPT coming out, one of the things we did for our digital marketing clients was content. And as part of that content, so it was released November of 2022. By the end of January of 2023, so 2, 3 months later, we had lost all of our content clients, which was really, not ideal, of course. So we had to continue on. So we do SEO, we do GEO, which is generative engine optimization, and we do paid search, paid social, all those good things. So we were helping clients and companies optimize their spend, make as much money as possible online. And so that's what we continue to do while everybody explored this brand new tool to them, which was ChatGPT. So that's kind of the evolution of AOK marketing, at least in the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. So it's been a lot of fun.
What are some of the top tips you would offer people on digital marketing these days, especially if they're not all that familiar with it?
Well, the first thing you need to do is understand what you're tracking. So all these tools that you've got out there, I'm sure everybody's heard of, Google ads, Meta ads, or Facebook ads, or Instagram ads, or any of those kinds of things. They're all algorithm based. And what you have to do is have the right tracking in place so that you can get those ads to track the right things. If you want somebody to buy from you, you want to have your what's called a primary conversion, the most important conversion, to be a purchase. You don't want it to be signing up for your newsletter. You don't want it to be viewing a particular page. You want it to be a purchase. But people have it all set up wrong. And so my recommendation is have somebody look at your setup before you start spending, $100, $300, $500, $10,000 a day, whatever your budget is. Before you start doing that, you got to make sure that you're tracking the right things to train the model to then, help you achieve your goals.
Okay. And what about non-paid digital marketing, which gets
So
into SEO and all of that?
yeah, SEO is great and highly recommend it because it's once you turn that tap on, it just keeps running, that water being your income keeps flowing until Google changes the rules and then they do, what we call the Google slap. So the most important thing to bear in mind right now is traditional SEO, search engine optimization, is all about page authority. So, say, for example, you are Starbucks.com. And so if you go and you search for Starbucks, you'll see Starbucks.com and all of the kind of information about the company on the right-hand side. And then if you put in Starbucks near me, it'll show you 3 or 4 different locations plus a map. Or if you put in Starbucks Frappuccino, it'll show you the Frappuccino page. The reason for this is because Google is smart enough to know that that Starbucks has relevant content for that particular search. So the question is, if you're trying to get found on search, do you have relevant content that Google can surface for you? If you do, that's great. That's an excellent thing in traditional SEO. For SEO for AI or GEO, generative engine optimization, basically what you need is you need to have entity authority. So you need to have really strong signals out there in the internet that your entity is a real thing, and your entity could be a person, place, could be your brand, it could be your website, it could be your company. Whatever your entity is a real life thing. It has real authority and it's actually notable. And so this is one of the things. So the new SEO is much more based around what your notability is, what your expertise is, what your authority is, and how trustworthy you are. So things like a good Reddit thread, things like a Wikipedia page that talks about your entity or your company or your brand. Those are really important things to be able to show up in the large language models like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any of those things.
Okay. All right. So let's flip it around a bit. And you are also a Bloom growth coach.
Yes.
What's that? Tell us about it.
So Bloom Growth is similar to EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. It's an operating system for your business. And the basic thing about your business, assuming that you've got one and you're listening to this podcast, is it's important to bear in mind all of the different things and parts of your business. There's a couple different ways to think about it, but I like to think about it in different buckets, right? You've got your 3 main buckets of each business. First bucket is acquisition. How are you acquiring clients and customers? So that's usually sales and marketing. That's part of your acquisition bucket. The second bucket is your delivery or operations bucket. So that's how are you actually delivering these products and services to your clients. And then the third bucket is your admin bucket. So that's legal, finance, HR, all those different things to make sure that deliver products, stay out of jail, get paid, all those important things. So with Bloom Growth or any coaching system that you're going to use, you got to make sure that you are doing all 3 of those main buckets well. And how detailed you get into those things is kind of too much for a short podcast. But basically, what I've found is delivery. Now, I'm a marketing guy, and so I'm an acquisition guy, but delivery is the most important thing. You need to be able to deliver a really good experience, a really great, customer customer experience to be able to then market because nothing will grow your business faster or nothing will drive your business into the ground faster if you make lots of people aware of your business and then deliver a mediocre or crappy experience.
Okay. So I'm taking some notes here, but if you have delivered great customer experience, you leverage that in your marketing.
Exactly. So think about it like you build a fire, which is your delivery. You're starting to get referrals. People are starting to talk about you. They're telling their friends. You're starting to get busy, but it's kind of, usually with referrals, unless you have a very specific referral program, that's kind of spotty.
Yeah.
People come and go and that kind of stuff. But if you really are delivering a great product, you can just add fuel to that fire through great marketing. And whether that's digital marketing, traditional marketing, whatever it might be, you can do a lot of great things with it.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll tell you that people we use to help us put together, they call it a blueprint for social media, said, put as many testimonials out there.
Absolutely. Well, then that's part of the trust and authority, right?
Yep.
Like the way I look at it is nobody else can talk about what you've done, right? You might offer a similar service. Say you're an accountant. You might offer bookkeeping services. You might offer year-end services. You might offer tax services, those types of things. But nobody else can say, hey, I did the tax for XYZ company and saved them $1 million. My fee was 50 grand, but I saved them $1 million and they paid it happily. And they bought me lunch and whatever else might be, right? So
Yeah.
these are the types of things. So testimonials about what you've done is a great way to build authority, build trust, not only for users, but also for the machines. Because the large language models like ChatGPT are crawling those independently verified sources to help build authority and to understand who to recommend if you're asking them in ChatGPT, who should I do for this, get for this service.
Okay. So that's a good segue into AI in general. And we talked before we started recording this, about AI and how it applies to different aspects of businesses, different types of businesses. Uh, and to me, it's something that for most people, it's still the very, very tip of the iceberg. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people say, I use AI. I ask things in ChatGPT,
Yep.
which is good, but you're just using a little bit of AI's capabilities. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, what we're finding is there's a bunch of different types of AI. So the most popular and what people think about now is ChatGPT and the chatbots and the large language models. And so basically what that means is this is a model that knows how to speak and knows how to basically regurgitate, if that's a bad word to use in a podcast, knows how to bring up the same information again. So how they basically work is you put a lot of information in, it sorts through all that information, and then it comes up with the average next best word. So this is how it works. If you're like, what color is the sky? And then the answer could be the sky is, and it will know logically blue as the next best word. It does that for everything. That's basically how it works. So whenever you ask it something, it's using the average of all its knowledge to come up with the next best word. And then that's how it completes sentences and paragraphs and tells you stories and does all these things is based on whatever the probabilities are for the next best word. Because this is all math at the end of the day.
yeah,
So when people are talking about how to use large language models, the first thing they have to understand is if they're using it themselves versus if they're using it in their company versus, are they using it with their clients and customers? If they're using it for themselves, then they got to get familiar with the tool. And if they're not getting the results that they want, it's not the machine's fault. It's because their inputs aren't good. People, there was a brief talk about maybe prompt engineer is going to be a career, but basically what that means is, you have to get better at instructing the machine. Think of the large language models as a highly educated, university grad who doesn't know anything about you or what you want from it. So if you can give it lots of context, lots of examples, lots of demonstrated, results, it will come up with a much, much better answer. And all of a sudden you'll think, hey, this thing's brilliant because it's actually just because you prompted it better. It's the instructions you gave it. If you're going to be using this for your people are going to be hesitant about it. And this is my experience across lots of organizations. They aren't sure if this is going to steal their jobs. And then if it doesn't steal their jobs, are you going to expect 10 times more work out of them? And the answer is yes to both of those, right? But they're going to go through kind of a multi-stage process. They're going to be afraid of it at first, and then they're going to use it a little bit and then get crappy results and they're going to be skeptical about it. But then something amazing is going to happen at some point where they're like, wow, this thing, like maybe it comes up with a great answer, or they see a video about something or something maybe, and they'll have this moment, this like, oh my goodness moment. And so when they have this aha moment, then they're going to start investigating what's going on. And then they're going to research that and figure it out. Then they're going to start using it and then they're going to start mastering it. So it's everybody kind of has to go through this cycle whether or not they want to or not, just because of the nature of this technology.
Okay. I want to jump back to when you said, use it for yourself, which is sometimes tied to business. And so about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were helping sell a client's company, and I used ChatGPT and said, write an ad for selling this kind of business in this size range, etc. And it did an excellent job, other than I had to go through it and take out what I will call all the 1960s used car sales pushy sentences and this is the greatest thing since sliced bread and kind of stuff. Could I have, or could it have, if I did then, say 2 years ago, said without being salesy, would it have, then it would have changed it, right?
100%. You could say, yeah, not being as salesy, use lots of references to our testimonials. Go online to my website, look at what testimonials we have, do research on the industry, understand what ads others are running, figure out what a good ad is, what differentiates us, and then it could come up with much, much better results. And you could even say, and write the ad for a C-level executive, so somebody who's, very smart, but who has a middle school reading level in order to make the answer more simple. So C-level response, middle school reading level, and it'll come out. It won't be, patronizing or anything. It won't be talking down to any of the users, but it'll be very simple in terms of the messaging that it's got. So you can change the tone, you can change the message, you can give it, length requirements. You can say make it shorter, make it longer, make it funny, all these kinds of things. It really has the ability to be able to do a lot of things.
Yeah, no, 80% of it was great, and it worked a lot better than what we had come up with on our own. Uh,
Well, and if you had taken those final ads that you were happy with and put those back into ChatGPT and said, make me 10 more like this, it would have come up with 10 more variations for you.
wow. Okay.
Because
What
you're
are the
feeding the model, you're giving it feedback, you're
Yeah,
you're you're training it to answer the way you want it to.
got it. Okay. So move into, you said, for using with your people, yourself, people, company. What
Yep.
about the company using it? What do they have to watch out for?
Well, there's privacy issues. You got to make sure that depending on which model you're using, just bear in mind that if you don't have training data turned off, you don't have your privacy settings set up correctly, you are helping train future models. You are training them with your data. So if you took sensitive client financial information and uploaded it and said, give me the EBITDA for this particular, earnings before interest, taxes, and appreciation for this particular company, and you told it the company and you uploaded its sensitive financial information, then that information is now in the model. So you don't want to do that, and you want to prevent your people from doing that. But what you can do is you can actually download models. So OpenAI came out with an open source model called OSS, and they've got two different variations of it. So you can actually download the model, put it on your local computer, put a firewall around it so nobody else can access it, and then you can train it on your own personal data because you have the model, you have the data, and then it can interact with the outside world based on whatever restrictions you put on it. So you could upload those financial statements and not worry about it if you were using an in-house model that you could download for free, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I've been investigating private AI, and
Yep.
I started, and in our business, we went through a little bit of a slowdown after the tariffs were announced, and nobody knew what was going on, and then all of a sudden we got
Well,
super busy.
I was
So
going to say, wait a minute. Do you know what's going on now? Because I'd love to know. I would
what's
love to
going on?
learn.
What I should say, what's going on now is people are saying, I got to live with it, so I'll just do what I was going to do.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm hearing out there too.
And yeah, so it's still on my list. I've got websites up and things like that, and uh, that's uh, that's exactly what you're talking about. Although at least a few months ago, OpenAI didn't have that. I don't think
No,
that.
That's relatively new. I think they released it in August,
Yeah.
maybe late July when they released their own. There were others, there are others. Llama is one that was
Emma.
released by Meta. There's other ones that are on Hugging Face, which is a technology platform. So there's a number of different places you can go, but from all of our testing, the best model is OSS 120. Currently, the best open source model is that one. It's trained on the largest, we think it's trained on the largest database of information, and therefore its answers are better, and it's just kind of a general better overall experience.
As a private AI.
As a private AI, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, what about you help in a number of ways companies scale. So,
Absolutely.
what are the top few tips, not counting digital, that you have worked with your clients on?
I mean, there's so many different things, but basically you have to fix your delivery mechanism first, right? You need to really nail down through systems and process what you're delivering. And when you nail that down, then you need to figure out, okay, how are we going to get paid for this thing? And then, okay, now that we're getting paid for this thing and it's all legal and everything is good, how do we then scale this business? And scaling is usually done through various marketing and sales efforts. But the thing is, outside of digital, you need to fix the machine first. And then you can scale it by applying, fuel to your rocket ship kind of thing. So if there's specifics, specifics around your process and how you're executing your process, how many people are using that process, how repeatable it is, how proprietary it is. So is it your process? Do you own it? And beyond that, is it, if you've got your finance function, how is it communicating with the rest? Are you actually, there's so many things to it, but business is all one interrelated organism. And what happens is, as you start to grow and scale, you'll hit a bottleneck in a particular department or function. I like to think of it as you'll break the business. So this is what happens is you start to break different parts of the business based on different growth curves. So if you're under $1 million, usually people and revenue, people are usually kind of their sales function is broken, their marketing function is broken, but they may have decent delivery, decent product. Then once they get over $1 million, 1 to 3 to 5, they start to break their processes. Their business can't handle that amount of business, and they can't continue to scale because they can't deliver, which, stops them from scaling because they're delivering a mediocre experience. So then they have to fix the experience they're delivering, but they now have more resources. Then they're starting to scale with the marketing again. They're scaling with their operations, their delivery side of things. And then something else breaks. They're not getting paid on time. They're getting sued because they're now a noticeable brand name, whatever it may be. And then so you need to kind of at every stage, there's different parts of the business that will break, that will scale and break. And then you'll get to a new constraint, a new bottleneck in your business. So then it's just solving that bottleneck to get you to the next level because it doesn't make sense for you to triple your media spend on whatever you're spending it on or triple your sales force if you can't deliver a good product or service. So you need to fix the product or service. And if you can't get paid for any of that stuff, then none of that matters, right? So depending on where you break your business, that's what you need to focus on fixing.
Okay. It's an interesting way of putting it. I haven't heard it said that way before, but it makes sense because we talk about sometimes with businesses, the growth curve is like an S curve. You go up, you plateau, you go up, and then what you're saying
Yep.
is recognize what's causing it to plateau
Well, yeah,
and
what's
fix it.
broken and fixing it. Sometimes it can be, you bring somebody into your organization to fix a particular function. Say you bring in like, I don't know, an HR manager. And that person you think is doing a really good job, but they hire C players. And so you got lots of people running around not doing much. And you realize, okay, maybe that initial hire caused some issues. And so figuring out is your hiring process broken? And then if, say, for example, you start to scale and your technology can't keep up, right? Okay, so we need to fix the IT function. And within fixing the IT function, this is something else. And so, just growing that, is it our marketing? Is it our delivery? whatever parts of the business that you get to, and then figuring out how to break through that. And usually it involves newer, better people who've done this before. Because that's a real breakthrough for me, was figuring out who can I hire, who's done this before. If you want to go from 5 million to 25 million, the easiest way to do that is to hire somebody who's done it before, because this is all they've done, all of the learning associated with this issue. So that's the secret sauce is hire somebody who's done it before.
Okay.
And
So I've got a couple wrap-up questions. Any other tips you want to get out before I ask them?
no, just I would say if you're not utilizing AI, play with it. Try it out. Overcome your own inhibitions associated with it. Forgive it for being crappy at the beginning, because it's not crappy. Unfortunately, you are. It's your prompting. And then keep playing with it, because this is the future. This is the way things are going. So you got to at least be familiar with what's happening.
Okay. So, Dave, when you're not doing this and you're helping businesses grow in promotional products and digital marketing, what do you like to do?
So I like to work. I hate to be that guy on this call, but I really enjoy spending my time solving the problems that I find in my own business and in clients' business. I view it as this like unsolvable Rubik's cube that as soon as you get to a certain point, you think you got it, the rules change, the environment changes. Tariffs come in, or COVID happens, or you name it, and nothing is ever what you thought it was going to be. For anybody who thinks that the next 2, 5, 10 years are going to just be nice, smooth sailing after we get over whatever hump that they are facing, just take a look at the last 2025. There isn't a smooth time. There isn't going to be a smooth time. So I love that side of things, that it's a never-ending challenge. So yeah, there's always something to do, and I really enjoy spending the time doing it.
Okay. And is there anything you wish I'd asked you about that you'd like to get out? Business, non-business, anything?
No, I just, in terms of what you're seeing on the exit side of things, where people are doing, I'd love to hear your feedback associated with how you're viewing the market these days and what you're seeing.
Well, what I'm seeing is it's just like you talked about the last 5, 10, 20 years, is that there are downs when it should be up and ups when you think it would be down. And I know a lot of people in my industry, once in the US, the tariffs were, hit big in April. There's just a lot of uncertainty, and well, we better pull back because we don't know. And I just saw a presentation from a bank's economist last week, and the tariffs. There's a lot of headline and bluster, but the level of tariffs is not all that high compared to what everyone was led to believe. Of course,
Yeah.
specific industries and countries, that's a different thing.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you dig down, there's some that have been greatly impacted for sure.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's an interesting environment. Like I said, this is fun, right? I mean, okay, I know a lot of people like, Dave, this is not fun. I would rather have it not change. I like the predictability associated with whatever time frame they're thinking of. But really, I mean, this is where the opportunities arise, or when change happens. So things are changing. So where's your opportunity?
Yeah. So, how do people get in touch with you?
So easiest way is LinkedIn. I'm at LinkedIn/in/Dave B. Burnett, because there's lots of Dave Burnetts out there. So make sure you find the right one. You can find me on X at Dave Burnett _ at the end, because again, lots of Dave Burnetts. And that's just some thoughts I have over there. But also at promotionalproducts.com. That's where we do gifts, giveaways, incentives. But yeah, that's the main places where you can find me.
Okay. Well, Dave, I appreciate it. It was a fascinating discussion. I took more notes than I usually do when doing this, just so I wouldn't miss it. And um, I think some great insights on both the marketing, but especially on the AI. And I would say your advice on it was very practical.
Yeah, well, you gotta be able to use these tools. I mean, I am now doing literally in an hour what it used to take me 8 hours to do. I'm able to, and so when you have that kind of productivity, you're faced with a choice. Am I going to work for 1 hour and, do something else for eight? Or am I going to go hard for eight and do eight times the productivity? So this is the choice that we're all faced with.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time.
Well, thank you, Dave Burnett, Bloom Growth Coach, AOK Marketing, practical AI is what I would say you are good at, and thank you for being on the Getting the Deal Done podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, John. I appreciate it.